Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla. I wanted to talk to you about a topic that I've dealt with since grade 11. It's a toxic relationship. When I was in grade 11, I dated a guy for 4 months. Let's name him David. I dated David for 4 months. He was very controlling. It was just extreme controlling, and I still stayed with him. I did lose my virginity to him, unfortunately. I honestly wish I didn't. He was controlling to the point where I couldn't talk to certain people because he didn't like them. I was over at his house the one day, and he listened to Asking Alexandria and a bunch of these screamo bands that I didn't really particularly like. So he put on screamo music. So his mom was like, David, why don't you put on some music that your girlfriend Kayla also likes? And he was just hardcore complaining about it, complaining about it. So I put on a song called, I believe it was either Boom or The Rest of Us by Simple Plan. And I was showing his mom of how I met them. And he went on a rampage because they had their arms around me and that. They're like, oh, you're 16 years old. They shouldn't be freaking doing that. Having their arms around a 16-year-old. That is disgusting. They're nothing but terrible people. I'm like, no, they were actually really sweet. And it was just like very terrible. And to the point where I'm like, you weren't there and you weren't dating me at the time. Why are you doing this stuff? And he goes, well, still, they shouldn't be doing that to their fans. I'm like, okay, whatever, next subject. So then a few weeks roll around or whatever, and I'm still dating him, and I had this guy friend who I also had a crush on while I was dating him, and it wasn't the best thing because he also had a girlfriend at the time, and it was just terrible, and he had a crush on me. I still believe to this day he had a crush on me because why would he get pissed off if I was dating other people and shit? So he decided to try to ruin our relationship, and his name is, let's go with Kevin. Kevin tried to ruin my relationship by kissing me in the middle of the hallway when we gave each other a hug. So I texted my boyfriend and he told me basically to stay away from him. Wasn't my fault. So a few months roll around. It's exams. Exams are very stressful. I couldn't see my boyfriend. I was in a fight with my friend Thea, who I went to Warped Tour with. And it was just like, I couldn't see my ex-boyfriend David at the time because he had to deal with a bunch of crap at his place. So I couldn't see him. So I went over to Kevin's place. Kevin and Chuck's place. Actually, it wasn't their place. It was Chuck's stepmom's place or whatever. Or, yeah, his stepmom and his dad's place. And so I went over there and we were having fun. We were hugging and that, just being like good friends. And he tried to kiss me again. I got up and slapped him across the face. I ended up going home that night and I ended up telling my ex-boyfriend David at the time what had happened, and he accused me of cheating. And he ended the relationship. I tried to tell him, no, it wasn't me. I tried calling him and telling him it wasn't me. He told me, and I quote, go F yourself and go kill yourself. I did attempt suicide that night because I thought my life was over because I lost the love of my life. And it was just terrible. He's a toxic person. Then after we broke up, we started talking a bit again, and he wanted to be friends with benefits. I didn't know what that was at the time. I was 16 years old to the point where I only lost my virginity to him. So I'm like, okay, and my mom was not fine with it. She was not having it. We had to call the cops to get all of my stuff back. It was just terrible. Then, fast forward a few months, I was in a relationship with another guy. He was 20 and I was 16 at the time. I know it was bad. So, I'm going to call him Jimmy. Jimmy, most toxic person probably ever. And you know what? He is a very toxic person. He ended up asking me out. We met on Hot or Not. We ended up having sex that night we met, and then he asked me out that night. So I'm like, okay, I was in a relationship with him for about a few weeks. Then his dad always tried to convince him to break up with me because I was too young for him and a bunch of other crap. It was just intense. So he kept breaking up with me because of my age, because of his stupid freaking father. So I'm like, okay, whatever, and I didn't know. So then months roll by and he wants to be friends with benefits. I'm like, okay, no problem. He said he didn't want a relationship. And then I find out from girls that I was going to high school with that he was messaging them, asking them, sending them dick pics, like dick pics, and a bunch of other stuff, wanting to hook up and all that, and wanting a relationship with them. I'm like, they're the same age as me. Why is he doing that? So I'm like, whatever. So I ended up messaging him, confronting him about it. After my parents split up, he blocked me on everything. He blocked my mom, my dad, my brother on everything. I'm like, okay, that's a bit weird. Then I ended up seeing him in Zoomies, a store in my mall when I was living in Essex at the time, in Windsor. And it was just, okay. He ended up talking to me. I ended up confronting him about why he blocked me. He said it was just because he didn't want to deal with a bunch of shit. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm like, that's no issue. We ended up talking and he ended up unblocking me. And it was good for about basically a lot of months. And then we hooked up again. We had sex. And then a few weeks after, he blocked me on everything. I'm like, okay, whatever. Nope, done. And yeah, I have him blocked on everything in that too. I've been through terrible relationships and it's just terrible. If you're ever in a toxic relationship, break up with the person. Honestly, that's my advice.